Okay, here we go. Welcome B'ruchim Aba'im to the Yitzchok Dov Rottenstein Shiur. Yitzchok Dov Nisan Eliezer Zechen Nishmaso. We are on Megilah Daf Beis, and we see you all see the sheet. You all see the daf over here.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
But I have my own Gemorah. But what is it? Beis Amid Aleph.
Beis Amid Aleph.
All right.
Okay. We're Beis Amid Aleph, and we're 1, 2. We are starting right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines from the bottom.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. My Rabbi Chana, yeah.
Okay, let's bring everybody up to date on what we learned so far. It's really quite straightforward. As we review, I'm sure you'll remember a lot of it. Okay, the last week especially, what we learned was the question was where is the remez in the Megilah that there are so many dates for Purim in our Mishnah, if you remember, on the top of the Mishnah, right here.
Right.
You see the Megilah is read on the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, the 15th.
Right.
Where is there a remez in the Megilah that such a thing exists? So the Gemorah brought down the fact that it says L'kayem es yemei apurim ha'ela b'zmanehem, and the word zmanehem taught us many things. Zmanim harbe, and the Gemara learned out from it. It took the word zmanim apart and said zman, zmanim, zmanehem, all kinds of different permutations. And we learned that all of these dates are learned out from the different permutations of the word zmanehem. Instead of zman, it says mane, plural. Manehem, 2 plurals. A plural in terms of the dates, and plural in terms of the fact that not one is the same as the other. And that's where we left it. How do we know all these 5 dates? We know it's because of Zmanehem. And that's where we are now. Along comes Amar Rabba Bar Bar Chana, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabba Bar Bar Chana comes along and he says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, Zu, these words that we just learned, that there are 5 dates which are learned out from the words Manehem, Zu Divrei Rabbi Akiva Stim Ta'ah. These are the words of Rabbi Akiva Stim Ta'ah. The word Stim Ta'ah means Stam. Rabbi Akiva Stam. And the Rashi here is going to give us two interpretations of what Stim Ta'ah means. Here we go, right here on the left side in the Rashi, towards the top. It says Zu. You follow my hand. You see
yeah. Right.
Zu Divrei Rabbi Akiva Stim Ta'ah. Says Rashi, Hachi Gomir Rabbi Yochanan Mei Rabbi. This is what Rabbi Yochanan learned from his Rebbe, because he said it was Rabba Bar Bar Chana Amar Rabbi Yochanan, right? He learned it from his Rebbe, the Masnisin, that our Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva Amra, Rabbi Akiva was the one who said our Mishnah. Now, if you'll notice, in our Mishnah, there are no names. There are no names over here. It's the Mishnah said Stam. Now, normally, when
Mishnah is Rabbi Meir.
Normally, when we hear Stam Mishnah, we say Stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. But along comes the Gemara and tells us, wait a minute, you should know, not every Stam Mishnah is Rabbi Meir. I want you to know that there's such a thing as a Stam Mishnah, that's Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva Stim Ta'ah. That's what it means when it says, Zu Divrei Rabbi Akiva Stim Ta'ah. So Rashi first introduces it, that Stim Ta'ah means Harbe Stam Mishnah. Follow me in the Rashi over here.
Right.
Stam Mishnah. Sosam Rebbe. Rebbe made it Stam Shahain Divrei Rabbi Akiva. That they are the words of Rabbi Akiva. So it would be wrong to say that all Stam Mishnayos are Rabbi Meir. We can say that most Stam Mishnayos are Rabbi Meir, but there are other Stam Mishnahs that may be like Rabbi Akiva. And by the way, not only Rabbi Akiva, there are other Tanoim that are also Stim Ta'ah. Our Mishnah in Megilah is Rabbi Akiva Stim Ta'ah. Let's go on with the Rashi. So the first pshat we said about Stim Ta'ah is that this is a Stam Mishnah in the name of Rabbi Akiva. Rashi gives a second pshat, the Yesh Mefarshim Stim Ta'ah, that is another pshat of what Stim Ta'ah means, Kol hastumin, all the Mishnayos that are stam talmidov hoyu, they were all said by the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, Kida Amar b'Sanhedrin, like it says in Sanhedrin, stam Mishnah Rabbi Meir. Okay, he was the Talmud of Rabbi Akiva. You remember?
Right. The five rabbis.
What Gemara is that in Mordechai?
Yibamos.
Right, it's in the Gemara in Yibamos. What da?
Sav Kimmel?
What?
Samach Kimmel?
Samach base.
Okay.
Samach base on the base. The famous Gemara that Rabbi Akiva went after the destruction of his 24,000 students and taught 5 new students, and once again rekindled the Mesorah for all of Klal Yisrael. And now Rashi tells us, Stam Mishnah was Rabbi Meir. But there's another thing. Stam Tosefta, a Stam Tosefta. Tosefta is a brisa. Stam Tosefta, Rabbi Nechemya. Okay? Stam Sifra, it's also a brisa, is Rabbi Yirmiyah. I'm sorry, Rabbi Yehuda. The Kulu, all of these stem to'i aliva de Rabbi Akiva. All of these are stam according to Rabbi Akiva because he taught it to them and they became the experts at each individual thing. Okay, now says Rashi, however, kosha be'enai lefaresh kain. I have a problem explaining it the way I just did. Why? Shemotzinu bekama makomos b'shem Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Yossi stim ta'a. We find sometimes that there is a Gemara that uses the terminology that these are Mishnayos that was said by Rabbi Elazar ben Rabbi Yossi stam, or Rabbi Menachem ben Rabbi Yossi stim ta'a. That's another stam. Lekamen beperik b'nei ha'ir. We're going to learn this later on when we get to the last parak. So, in other words, the Rashi is giving us the first explanation, and he gives a second explanation. But the second explanation is lav dafka. It's not that they were all Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, because these were not Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, end of story. Now let's go back to the Gemara. After it says these are the words of Rabbi Akiva stim ta'ah, we now go to the next line. The Darish that Rabbi Yochanan was darshaning from the fact that Rabbi Akiva is the author of this Mishnah, because the Darish, because he darshan, Rabbi Akiva darshan, Zman, Zmanom, Zmanehem. Because Rabbi Akiva, if you remember last week, we learned that each of the phrases are separately explained to mean different times. Avol, Chachamim Omrim. But Rabbi Yochanan says, the Chachamim say, these Chachamim are going to be arguing with our Mishnah. The Chachamim say, Ein Korin Osa Ela Bizmana. Wow. That the Chachamim's Shita is, we only read the Megilah in its right time. No other times. Now the question here is going to be, of course, what's its right time? What's its right time? What do you say? What's its right time?
14 and 15.
Oh, so even when it's right time, it's still 2 different days, right? Why is it 2 different days even in the right time? You remember why?
The Shushan rested a day later.
Oh, because it's mentioned in the Megilah and Purim.
Yeah.
The Megilah. Okay, let's see what this holds up. Let's see now. So along come the Chachamim and say we only read it in its right time, and we're assuming that when it says its right time, that means only on the day in which it's read like according to the days 14 and 15. Okay, let's go further now. Here you go. So now we just made a statement that these are the words of Rabbi Akiva Stibtah, but the Chachamim argue with Rabbi Akiva, and they say you only read it in its right time. is this really so? The Gemara is going to try to analyze if this is really so. The Gemara says, Mesechta. Okay, on this, I have another question. I have a brisa that says, and you'll notice on the right, you see, it's brought down the Gemara in Tainus. You see?
Yeah.
He says, Omar Rebbe Yehuda. Rebbe Yehuda says, Amosai, when do we say this? And the Rashi here in Amosai, you have to take a look at it. The Rashi over here says Amosai, right here. Amosai hekilu chachamim al hakfarim. When did the chachamim make it easier for the kfarim, the villagers, to read the Megilah on these extra days? When did that happen? Back to the Gemara on the bottom. Amosai. When do we say that? Amosai, here's Rabbi Yehuda. Amosai, when do we say it's read only in its right time? Bisman, at the time, because we just said, Ein Kohen Osan Ela Bismana. When the Chachamim said it's only read in its right time, when is that? Rabbi Yehuda, Amosai, when is that? That's only read in the right time? Bisman Shahashanim Kiti Kanan, when the years are according to normal, according to the tikkun of the years, and the Israel Shiruyin Alad Masan, and the Jews are living on their land. Meaning, where are we living?
Israel.
Where's Israel? Right? Avol Bisman Hazeh. But today, Ho will umistaklin ba. Since today we look into Purim, Ein Koren Osa Ela Bismana. You can only read it in the right time. What does this mean? What does this mean when we say, but Bisman Hazeh, because we look into it, we only read it at the right time? What do you think it might mean? That today when we look into it, what does look into it mean? Look into Purim in what way? That we only read it in its right time. Why would that be? Why would it be that Bisman Hazeh we can only do it in the right time? What would be the reason for doing that? Why can't we read it the earlier days? What's the problem? Rashi explains. If anybody figures it out, great. But here's Rashi. Rashi explains. Here we go. Okay, here we go. So we said, here we go. He said, Amosai, Ekilu Chachamim Alak Farim. When is it that the Chachamim made it lighter for the villagers to read 11, 12, 13? Bisman Sha'ashanim Kitikanim. When the years are the way they're supposed to be. What does that mean? Sha'ashanim Misabros Alpi Bezdin. That the years are made pregnant. Literally. Well, it doesn't only mean leap year.
No.
It can mean even a leap month.
Leap month. Oh, okay.
Right. What's a leap month?
Oh, some months have 29 months. Right.
Oh, a 30-day month. Okay.
I mean, today
we have it's set in stone. But in those days, it was Alpi Re'iyah, and Re'iyah means two witnesses would see the moon, and they would report to the Bezdin, right? Right? And then they would declare the new moon. So the Rashi is explaining that Shashanim Hekilu Chacham Al Kfar Bizman Shashanim Tikitanim Shashanim is Abros Alpi Bezdin, that the years were made pregnant or leap, or even the months Alpi Bezdin, the Hachadoshim, right? And the months Amakadshim the Bezdin that were made Kodesh on Bezdin, Sholchim, Shlucheihem, they would send out the Shluchim to the various parts of Eretz Israel, Lahodia, to let everybody know, Amosai Hukdish Nisan. When is Nisan made Kodesh? Now, this is very important.
Yeah.
You have to know when Nisan, when Rosh Chodesh Nisan is. You
No,
must.
when Rosh Hashanah is more important.
What?
Tishrei is more important. No, Tishrei.
Oh, no, wait. We're dealing with Purim, so we're not going to
So 30 days after Purim.
We're dealing with Purim. I'm going to worry about Tishrei when I'm dealing with Purim. No, I'm going to be worrying about the next month, which is Nisan, right? Why is that a problem? The Osin Mo'adim Alpi Shluchim, and we set up the Mo'adim, meaning Pesach, by the Shluchim. That is only when Kisha Shiruyin Alav Mosam, when the Jews are living in Eretz Israel, Vashluchim Magiyin Ara Pesach Lekotze Eretz Israel. Look, Eretz Israel is not that big. So the most it'll take is 12, 13 days to get to the outskirts of Eretz Israel. And today, of course, it'll be a lot less, but you can only get to the outskirts of Eretz Israel. And therefore, you can reach every part where Jews live. And consequently, they'll know how to make Pesach. Avo bizman hazeh. But in our time today, Shepasku call Eile, that these things no longer exist. The Yisrael nifredu. The Jews are spread all out, all over the place. Velo yagiyu shluchei bezdin etzlam, and the shluchei bezdin don't reach them in time for Pesach. Hakol. Now what happens is Hakol. Let me get this guy in here. Okay. Hakol sofim lemikra Megilah. Everybody sofer looks, gazes. Everybody gazes into when is the Megilah read. The Omrim, and they say like this. When do you read the Megilah first time? You're Dalit, right?
Yeah.
The Omrim, and they're going to say, Yom Yud Dalit Ba'adar Arina Megilah. Oh, we read the Megilah on the 14th.
And 30 days.
Nisharu La'adar, right? Left over for Adar, Tes, Vav, Yom, right? So Adar now has that a Vav or a Zayin.
Aman.
Is that a that's a Vav? That's a Zayin, right?
I think Zayn.
Yeah, it's a Zayin.
You rubbed out.
It's a little rubbed out. It's
really hard to tell.
What about the next word after that?
The next one says Vav.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a Zayin. Yeah, almost possible.
first one's Zayn.
Yeah, but then it goes around.
Yeah, I'm almost positive.
He has Tes Zayin before Tes Vav.
Yeah. It's supposed
No,
to be. I'll tell you why that is. You'll see it in a minute. No, that's also a vote.
Both Vavs?
Yeah.
Both?
Yeah.
Both Vavs?
Yeah. How many months is Adar normally?
What?
How many months is Adar normally?
Days, 29.
How many days?
29.
Oh, 29 days.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So he says
This is always 1 day.
this is always 1 day Rosh Chodesh, right? So it comes out, right? So the Omim, Yom Yudal Ba'adar Kamina Megillah, they say on the 14th day of Adar, they read the Megillah, Nisharu Adar Tezvav Yom. That means there are now a total of 29 in Adar, so there's 15 more days left to Adar, right?
Right.
Okay, good. And Yom V'Tezvav Shel Nisan Osin Pesach. And then on the 15th day in the month of Nisan, they're going to make Pesach. The im makdim kri'asa, and if today, when the shluchim don't go out, we're going to read the Megillah a few days early, Yasu Pesach L'sof Shloshim Yom Shel Kriya. They're going to make the Pesach beginning 30 days from the reading. That's not too much of a problem, except if you make brachas, which are not necessary, right? But the real problem is oh, that's the real problem.
Right.
Because that's the chi of kares. If you're going to tell me, okay, we can manage, it's the chachamim that were misakin the brachas, so we can safek brachas lahakil, whatever. But when it comes to eating chametz, we're only going to eat it for X number of days, matzah, and then we're going to think that this is really Pesach. At the end of Pesach, they end up eating chametz. So therefore, because we're not living in our land, and the years are not the same, therefore, right? And therefore, right? He says, the end of this Rashi, right? Bisman, Pesach, and you're going to end up eating chametz on the last days of Pesach. So therefore, today, and that's what the Gemorah says over here, Avo Bisman Hazeh, But today, we are now 6 lines in the bottom. Hoel mistaklin ba, since everybody looks into the day in which we read the Megillah, ein kovenosa ela biz mana. We only read it in the right time. Now, this is a brisa that was said by Rabbi Yehuda. It says, Rabbi Yehuda said, it's Gemorah in Tainus, ein mosai bizman shachov gedikanav Yisrael shun al masam, al bizman hazeh, hol mustaklan ba, ein kovenosa ela bizmana. Now the Gemara asks this question. We set it up by quoting the brisa. Rabbi Yehuda aliba daman. Rabbi Yehuda, who said his din, that we only read it on the 14th. Who does he go like? Is he going like the Chachamim, or is he going like Rabbi Akiva? Let's analyze. Ilema aliba de Rabbi Akiva. If you're going to tell me that he goes like Rabbi Akiva, who says you can read it like our Mishnah, because according to the proposal in the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva is the author of our Mishnah because it's Rabbi Akiva's Timtah. So, Ilema aliba de Rabbi Akiva. If you're going to tell me it goes according to Rabbi Akiva, we should say, Afilu bizman hazeh, Isala takanta. Even today, we should read it on the 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Why? You know why? When did Rabbi Akiva live? After the destruction of the second Beis HaMikdash.
Right.
So that's Man Hazeh.
Oh, right.
That's Man Hazeh.
Right.
Oh. So if that's the case, if Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Akiva, Afilu bizman hazeh is al takanta. We should go this even bizman hazeh. Says the Rashi over here. Bizman hazeh nami isa la ha takanta. Even today we should do this because the whole Rabbi Akiva bizman hazeh the Omar Masnisim the Meknimin. Rabbi Akiva was in our time, and he said we read it earlier. So why don't we read it earlier? Bisman Hazeh too, and you told me we only read it earlier, the time when Yisrael is tak alad masam. Today also it should be like that. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda can't go like Rabbi Akiva. Elalav, what must you say? Back to the Gemara 5 lines from the bottom. Elalav, I'll leave it to Rabbana. You must say that Rabbi Yehuda's statement only following the teaching of the Rabbanon, right? What do you mean only following the teaching of the Rabbanon, right? What do you mean the teaching of the Rabbanon, right? It says Rashi, Tahavu Mikami Rabbi Akiva Amra, that were before Rabbi Akiva. It must go like the Rabbanon who came before Rabbi Akiva. Ubizman Sha'ashanim Kitikana Yisrael Shuyin al Masam. When the Jews are living on their land and the years are proper according to the Beis Din, Miyah Karinan. They did read it 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Tiyufta to Rabbi Yochanan Tiyufta. That's a total refutation of the statement of Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Barbachana said the name of Rabbi Yochanan. These are the words of Rabbi Kivis Timtoa, who learns Zman Zmanom Zmanayim, but the Chacham say Ein Kohen Osa Ela Bizmana. And so Rabbi Yehuda can't go like Rabbi Akiva. He must go like the Chachamim, and that's a refutation of Rabbi Yochanan, who said that even today it's a kasha to Rabbi Yochanan. That's one explanation. Gemara comes along with another explanation. Ikad Amri, there are others that say Amar Rabbi Ba'achana Amar Rabbi Yochanan Zu de Rabbi Akiva Stimta. These are the words of Stam Rabbi Akiva. Al Chachamim Amru. Bizman Hazeh, today, our times, we only read it today on the 14th or on the 15th. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a price to that effect. Rabbi Yehuda himself said, Amosai, when do we say that we read it other times? Bizman Shashan Kedikanav Yisrael Shunal Mosam. Avo Bizman Hazeh, because everybody looks at Purim and counts 30 days, and we don't want to have a situation where the Jews are eating chametz on Pesach the last few days. And Korenosa Elabez Mana. We only read it at the right time. Back to the Rashi, we're finishing the daf. Here we go. Right? Ika the Amri, Amar Rabba, Zu Divrei Rabbi Akiva Stim Toy. V'lo Gasin Lahai Lishna the Darish Zman Zmanam Zmanayim. Not because of that. The Rabbanon the Pligi Alei Nami Darshilei Ella, but they say Shechmiru LaAchar Chorban Mishum Demistaklim. But the reason why we're machmir and we don't allow us to read it earlier is because everybody's going to look at the dates and is going to have chametz on Pesach. Kasha, now the word says next. Okay, here we go. Rav Ashi comes along with a different explanation. Rav Ashi, Kasha, the Rebbe Yehuda, other Rebbe Yehuda. Rav Ashi had a kasha from one source of Rebbe Yehuda to another source of Rebbe Yehuda, which we just learned, as the Rashi now says, Kasha de Rebbe Yehuda, the Horbe Raisa de Le'il ad Rebbe Yehuda de Masnisen. This previous Brisa is going to be a Kasha on the Rebbe Yehuda of the next Brisa, Kiddush B'Farish V'Ozel, as we're about to explain. Where we explain it? On the next daf. We're going to go right there now, okay? We're going to the next daf right now. Let's see if we can get to the next daf. 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have to go up here and get it. Oh yeah, here it is.
Oh,
Here it is. I knew it was there. Okay, good. Okay, so here, now Rav Ashi Kashlei Rebbe Yehuda says the Gemorah, right? Rav Ashi had a problem of the two Mishnayos of Rebbe Yehuda. Okay, Umukim lo lebraisa Rebbe Yossi Rebbe Yehuda. We had a Mishnah and a Brisa, and the Mishnah and the Brisa seem to contradict each other. So Rav Ashi comes along and he establishes that the Mishnah could stay like Rebbe Yehuda. But if the Mishnah stays like Rebbe Yehuda and the Brisa stays like Rebbe Yehuda, then we're going to have a total contradiction. So in order to avoid that, Rav Ashi is mukim lo lebraisa ke Rebbe Yossi Rebbe Yehuda. Rav Ashi sets up the Brisa, so it shouldn't be a contradiction to Rebbe Yehuda, and puts it in the name of Rebbe Yossi by Yehuda. Now let's explain this. Rebbe Yossi by Yehuda was Rebbe Yehuda's son.
right.
Is the son allowed to argue with the father?
No.
Of course he can.
Oh, yeah.
Why not? If he's a
Yeah.
Talmud Chacham,
Right.
he can argue with his father, right?
Yeah.
Remember the story I told you a week ago? Famous story. Listen to this, guys, if you didn't hear it yet. Rav Moshe, when he was living on the east side, before he became the Rosh Yeshiva in the yeshiva, he was living on Henry Street, a block away. Yeah, and he davened in a steeple near his house. And the steeple davened Sfard. And Rav Moshe, of course, was Ashkenaz. It came Chol HaMoed. Now, Rav Moshe held that you have to wear tefillin Chol HaMoed. Okay? Are you following me, guys?
Yeah.
Rav Moshe held you have to wear tefillin Chol HaMoed. So in the shul that they davened for a minyan, before he became the Rosh Yeshiva, they davened Sfard and they didn't wear tefillin. So Rav Moshe told his children, we do not wear tefillin Chol HaMoed in the shul. Okay? So the Rosh Yeshiva didn't wear tefillin. He went home and he went to his room and he put on tefillin. Right? His boys were younger and they didn't put on tefillin. And then a year went by, 2 years went by, and they were still in the place. And Rav Moshe still didn't put on tefillin Chol HaMoed. Then Rav Moshe became the Rosh Yeshiva of the Tiferes Yerushalayim. And when he became the Rosh Yeshiva of the Tiferes Yerushalayim, so they davened Ashkenaz, and Rav Moshe was the Yoshev Rosh. So in the yeshiva, everybody wore tefillin Chol HaMoed. So he put on the tefillin. But Reb David, who was already bar mitzvah, and at that time about 15 years old, Reb David did not put on tefillin.
Wow.
Reb David didn't put on tefillin. And I heard this story from Reb Reuven Feinstein himself. And Reb David didn't put on tefillin. And the people in the yeshiva couldn't understand it. Here, Reb Moshe is wearing tefillin, and Reb David is not wearing tefillin. So they went over to the Rosh Yeshiva, it was bothering them. And they said, Rebbe, how come David doesn't wear tefillin? Now, David was about 15 or 16 years old at the time. So Rav Moshe said, I don't know. Maybe, listen to this one, here's the line. Maybe he went through the sugya and paskin that you don't wear tefillin on Chol HaMoed. I can't tell him to go put him on if he holds that the halacha is you don't put him on. I can argue with him about the halacha if he's interested in talking to me about it, but maybe he made up his mind. He's a Talmud Chacham, 15 years old. Maybe he made up his mind that you don't have to wear tefillin on Chol HaMoed. So they went over to Reb David and they said, is the reason you're not wearing tefillin is because you decided that la halacha you don't have to wear tefillin? Reb David said, Chas v'sholom, what are you talking about? My father told me a few years ago when we were davening in shul, we don't wear tefillin Chol HaMoed. And Reb David, who was a kid at the time, didn't realize that that was only because they were davening in a place where they got inspired. So this man went over to the Rosh Yeshiva and said, this is what David told me. Moshe said, yeah, oh. He called over Reb David, he said, no, don't you remember I said that was only because they didn't wear tefillin. I didn't want to be Los's Godadu. So I didn't put on tefillin. But I used to put them on at home after, right? But now that we're in the yeshiva, we should wear tefillin. Reb David always put on tefillin on Chol HaMoed, of course, because that was his father's psal. Now, he could have argued with his father. His father recognized him. And he said he could have argued. Maybe he holds differently. Maybe he holds differently, you know? That's the amazing thing. So let's go back to our Gemara. Now we understand our Gemara a little bit, because we have a machlokas of a stira between one Rebbe Yehuda and another Rebbe Yehuda. Okay? Now, can you have a stira, a contradiction within Rebbe Yehuda that he holds this way in one Mishnah and this way in a different Raisa? Can you have such a thing? Impossible.
No,
You
it
can't
can't.
have one Rebbe Yehuda against another Rebbe Yehuda unless you have some variables that aren't there.
Different circumstances.
Yeah, unless you come up with a variable that's not there.
Right.
Okay? But that's not what the Gemara does. Rav Ashi came along and he said that the Brisa went like Rebbe Yossi but Rebbe Yehuda because he couldn't find any logic why Rebbe Yehuda would self-contradict. And you can't, therefore, have a contradiction. So he said it must be that the Brisa went like Rebbe Yossi but Rebbe Yehuda, his son, because the son can argue with the father if he's a Talmud Chacham, right? And Umukum lo Brisa ke Rebbe Yossi but Rebbe Yehuda. And he set up the Brisa like Rebbe Yossi but Rebbe Yehuda. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. Umi Amar Rebbe Yossi, who said that Rebbe Yossi holds Bizman Hazeh Hoel Umistaklim Ba Ein Koren Osa Ela Bizman. How could we see that Rebbe Yossi? No, I'm sorry. Umi Amar Rebbe Yehuda. That's Umi Amar Rebbe Yehuda, right? Yeah. Umi. Now the Gemara asks the original question. Umi Amar Rebbe Yehuda. Bizman Hazeh, that in our time today, Hoel Umistaklim Ba. Since we look into Purim, ain't Koronos Ela Bizmana V'Aminu, but we can ask the following question: Amar Rebbe Yehuda, Amosai. When do we say that we can read it earlier? Mokom shemachnisin b'sheni v'chamishi. In a city in which the people gather together on Mondays and Thursdays for market days. So then we're makel on the people in the Kfarim. But if it's a place where they don't gather on Mondays and Thursdays, ain't Koronosa Ela Biz Mana. You can only read it in the right time. Ask the Gemara. But where they do gather on Mondays and Thursdays, Miha Karina. They do read it. Even in our time today, right? So therefore, now you see that there's a contradiction between Rebbe Yehuda and Rebbe Yehuda, even Bizman Hazeh, because Rebbe Yehuda in the other Mishnah said it was only when they didn't have Bizman Hazeh. And here you see it says Bizman Hazeh, and therefore Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda said, Umukim lo, and Rav Ashi said, Umukim lo lebraisa Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Yehuda. And therefore, we said, that the Brisa can't be Rabbi Yehuda, because if it's Rabbi Yehuda, it's a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda, and you can't have a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. So the main idea you have to get here is that you can't have a contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. You can have a contradiction between Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yehuda, but not within Rabbi Yehuda. So since you can't possibly say that Rabbi Yehuda says both the Mishnah and the Brisa, we must say that the Brisa goes like Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yehuda. Ask the Gemara the obvious question, Umishum the Kashale, the Rabbi Yehuda, the Rabbi Yehuda, because you've got a problem in a stira between one Rabbi Yehuda and another Rabbi Yehuda, Mukim lo lebraisa Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. What? Well, hey, I just got the perfect solution for every kasha that exists throughout all Shas. Whenever you have a contradiction, you say, no contradiction. This is him, this is his son. This is one, this is the other. We never see that. So how can Rav Ashi come along and do that? That's the kasha in the Gemara. Because you got a problem figuring out Rabbi Yehuda, therefore you go and say that it must be Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Yehuda. When did the Gemara ever do that? That's you're not playing by the rules. That can't be. So the Gemara comes along and he says like this. He says, Umishum, the Kashile, the Rabbi Yehuda, Mukum lo lebraisa Rabbi Yossi by Yehuda. Answer the Gemara, here's the answer. Rav Ashi Shamiyale. Rav Ashi heard the Ika, there are some rabbis, the Tani lo Rabbi Yehuda. Some rabbis learned the Brisa in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. The Ika, the Tani lo Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Wow. And some learned it in the name of Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Oh, what do you mean? Some said this was said by Rabbi Yehuda. And some said this was said by Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. Umid kasha laid Rabbi Yehuda. And since there was a kasha from one Rabbi Yehuda to the other, that would be a total stira. Omar, Rav Ashi said, normally I wouldn't do this, but since it's a total stira, I must say that man the Tani look at Rabbi Yehuda lav dafka. That the ones who said over this Brisa in the name of Rabbi Yehuda, they may not be so right. And man the Tani look at Rabbi Yossi, but Rabbi Yehuda dafka. But the ones who said it was in the name of Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda, they were right. Why? Because that avoids the contradiction in Rabbi Yehuda. We would never normally do this. It's just that we have a precedence that there were some who said that the Brisa did not go like Rabbi Yehuda, but it went like Rabbi Yossi but Rabbi Yehuda. And since I have this total contradiction between one Rabbi Yehuda and the other Rabbi Yehuda, it must be that the other one is correct. Otherwise, I'm out in left field. And that's why he said it goes like Rabbi Yossi, but Yehuda. And that settles up that particular dilemma. And let's look at the Rashi and we'll finish up the sugya. Here we go. Here goes the sugya.
We sometimes say that they can change their mind. You know, they change
sorry,
later.
What was that?
Sometimes later in life, you see that they change their opinion. Is that ever? We've seen that sometimes.
Yeah, chazar bo.
Yeah.
But that's not what happened here. In other words, there was no proof from anybody that Rabbi Yehuda changed his mind. So I can't propose he changed his mind if I don't know that for a fact. But I do know that there were some rabbis who, when they learned the Brisa, they learned it in the name of Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda. So I'm thinking to myself, they must be right. Because if they're not right, Rabbi Yehuda self-contradicted. And that doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense that a Tana would self-contradict. That's the problem. All right?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's the way I think the answer is. I think that there are times where, when the Tana contradicts himself, some rabbis say that the first one's a mistake.
Which was a mistake.
Or the second one was a mistake.
Oh, okay. Well,
But we don't find anyone saying that over here. That's the problem.
okay.
We do not find anyone saying that over here. And since we don't find anyone saying that in this place, therefore, since there are those who said that it was like Rabbi Yossi ben Rabbi Yehuda, we're going to go with that because that makes the most sense.
Well, that's kind of like saying it's a mistake, though. Like, he's saying it's a mistake. It's not, but it's not a mistake in the person itself.
Right. That's the key. Right. The ones who reported it, that it was a mistake, they must be making a mistake. Because a Tana himself would not self-contradict. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
That seems to be the Shas topic here. Okay. All right. So we're going to stop over here by the 2 dots, and in Yetz Hashem next week.
Right.
Next week, Tuesday night
Hey, we back.
at 8:00. Sure. Yetz Hashem.
Are there any Rashis? You said you're going to finish the Rashi.
No Rashi. I thought there was. But
Oh, okay.
No Rashi. Okay. So we'll pick it up in Yetz Hashem next week from the 2 dots over here on Beis Amid Beis. We're making nice progress.
Yes.
Yetz Hashem, we're going to get there. Once again, a big yashikayah to everybody joining in. I do want to mention, Rabosai, if you didn't sign up yet for the Siyum on Mesechta Shabbos, but Tuesday night, November 12th, please do so immediately.
No, Saturday night.
Saturday night.
Well,
What did I say?
Matzah Shabbos. Yeah.
It's Tuesday night. Tuesday Shabbos.
No,
It's Tuesday.
Tuesday night.
It's Tuesday Shabbos.
Here. Matzah Shabbos is the Siyum on Mesechta Shabbos.
Right.
Matzah Shabbos,
Week-
November 12th.
week of Shabbos, right.
Matzah Shabbos, November 12th. Please sign up for the Siyum. This is going to be a beautiful, beautiful simcha. 20 years in the making. So join with us, please. Okay, and get your friends. Call everybody you know that has a shaykhus with us and tell them they must participate in this beautiful, beautiful simcha. 20 years in the making. All right. Okay. I understand.
Rebbe.
Thank you. Welcome to Beth-El. I understand there's going to be very, very fine food, including I understand sushi and herring and fish platters. It's going to be something special. So, so join together with us, please. Okay. All right.
Rabbi Beryl is coming to the scene.
Yeah, Bell's coming, yeah.
Yes, Hashem. We look
Right.
forward to it.
Mhm.
Yes, Hashem.
Rabbi, are you doing the daf tomorrow?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-uh.
I'll know in the morning.
Heshi, let me ask